Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I am super excited to be presenting on this topic that's so near and dear to my heart. Um, I am over 20 years in the contracting business in the HVAC, plumbing, gas piping, and electrical verticals. So I just wanted to start with telling you guys a little bit about me and why I'm here today. So a brief overview of my journey through the construction industry. I feel like a good percentage of the people that land in the construction industry don't grow up dreaming of going into construction, and I'm one of those people. Um, I landed here by default. I started my career actually as a major in writing. So the degree that I went after was all about writing. So we learned technical writing, we learned writing for advertising, we learned writing for scripts and commercials, we learned writing for TV, we learned journalism, we learned instructional writing, all different sorts of things that have come incredibly in handy for me. Dating myself a little bit, we didn't do writing for the internet because it didn't really exist when I was in college. So that was my background, and I ended up in a job that was the managing editor of financial academic research publications for a university after that. Um, During that position, I met my husband, and when he graduated from college, he decided he was going to join his family's plumbing business and start an HVAC business. So when we started the HVAC business, it was him and one truck, and there were 40 employees on the plumbing side. And for the most part, they concentrated on new construction installations of plumbing, as well as commercial for schools and construction of hospitals and schools and things like that. So it was a relatively small family business, and this was in the late 90s. So the first day I walked into the company, just to sort of get my bearings and sort of get to understand things, one of the first things I realized is there was one computer in the entire building. And that was simply to send emails or do any kind of transactions that they needed to do computerized, but almost everything was done by hand. There was actually still a typewriter for AIA documentation and AIA billing, and it was file cabinet after file cabinet on all of the walls. And I was honestly a little bit horrified that there was no database to research anything. If they wanted to find a customer's folder, they went to the file folder for their street, pulled a file with all their invoices in it. So it's been an amazing journey to watch and to help with the software implementations that have led that company from a $4 million a year operation to what it is today, which is in excess of $200 million a year in service and construction, and starting from one location and going through 10 around the state of Florida. So they just opened their 10th location this year in 2024. So the trades have been incredibly kind to me um, over my career, and I have had the opportunity to implement 7 different software systems from the beginning to where we are today. We are currently running SAP as our ERP and Service Titan as our service software. So they work together in unison to allow us to have an incredible operation that is user friendly for our customers and for our employees, and allows us to be a dynamic and effective business. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an overview of the chronicle of our growth from the beginning to where we are. We started pretty hungry. There was a hole in our area for HVAC, and that's why we decided to grow into the HVAC division. My husband's dad ran the plumbing side. We started the HVAC side, and the first and most amazing piece of it was how we immediately saw the integration between the trades, the relationships that the HVAC department could grow off of the plumbing department, the the new business that HVAC would bring in that would immediately appeal to the plumbing department, we immediately realized that there was a synergy between the trades. So if you are multi-traded, good for you. If you aren't multi-traded, think about it. There's so much synergy between the trades today. Customers are very, very comfortable with having an MEP solution, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing together. And I think overall, having more than one trade in your envelope is beneficial to both you and your customers. So from the business side of things, one of the first things that we really aligned ourselves with is the process of constant and never-ending improvement, both personally and as a business. Constantly improving things is something that we've always done and have dedicated ourselves to. Whether that is coming up with more efficient processes, whether that is bringing in people to help us grow, whether that is reanalyzing and trying to look at what we do and how we could do that better. We're constantly driving those pieces. And I wanted to talk a little bit about surrounding ourselves with masterminds. One of the first things that we did was try to look at how to grow, how to adopt the solutions that would help us get to the levels we wanted to get to. And we found the best and the brightest experts and brought them in. Not just as consultants, but also to run our divisions, also to manage departments. It's you have to be able to never be intimidated by somebody who does something even better than you do. The more amazing people that you surround yourself with, the more amazing your company becomes, the more amazing your team becomes, the more amazing your ideas become. So I would say if I was trying to pin anything on growth or give you guys a secret to how to grow your company, it's find the best, bring them in and empower them to grow. One of the people that we brought in was a gentleman by the name of Gary Elix. You may be familiar with him if you know anything about the HVAC industry, but we brought him in as a consultant in 2005. And one of the things he did, which I'm going to dive a little deeper into later in the discussion, is he challenged us to departmentalize. And we adopted his departmentalization rules and really structured our business around that departmentalization. And it really came in handy as we grew. So another thing to think about as you're thinking about your business's goals, setting them is great, quantifying them is better, tracking them is important, but acting, and I'm going to come back to this over and over again, acting is important. You know, we come to these webinars, we come to these all these different conventions and meetings that we go to, and it fills our tank and we leave really excited. But the difference is the people who take something from those speeches or those meetings or those pieces of education and then bring them back to work and act on them and integrate them. If you can take action today, tomorrow, the next day, and stay consistent with that action, that is so key to being able to drive your business to the next level. So I mentioned Gary Elix and I mentioned departmentalization, and that is a critical piece to talking about 2008. 2008, as any of you who were in the industry remember, there was a huge crash in the construction industry. It began for us in 2008. We started to see plumbing, which was first trade in the ground in construction. We started seeing that have a drastic slowdown. We knew HVAC was next. It gave us a little bit of a heads up to try to figure out what to do. And we had just completed about a year and a half prior that exercise with Gary where we departmentalized all of our financials. So we had departments for plumbing warranty. We had broken all of our financials down, and we were able to look at the overhead as well as the profit obviously, very specifically. So one of the things that we did to help create a strategy to survive that crash was we were able to spread out. So rather than contract, many people in the middle of that crash backed away from construction. There was still construction to be done, but it was far more spread out, far more sporadic. So we decided to increase our territory. Prior to 2008, we only had one location around the Tampa area, the greater Tampa Bay area. We decided we would go wherever there was work and spread out and cross-train our supervision and cross-train our technicians if we could, so that we could take whatever construction there was and continue to do it. So we created a strategy that was, we don't care if we make a penny, we don't care if we break even, we just want to retain our talent. We don't want to lose these talented guys, let them move out of state, let them change trades. We wanted to be dedicated to how we could survive and retain our people. We'd invested a lot. Many of our people have been with us for 15 years or longer at that point. So a lot of the guys that were mid-40s had joined our team from high school and were still with us. So we had multi-generation plumbers with us that had been, the dad brought the son to work and carried on from there. So that was our hugest strategy, was to retain everyone. Well, when things started coming back and we stayed dedicated to our goals, dedicated to our values, dedicated to our quality, we had accidentally stumbled upon a blueprint for growth, because when we tried to retract because the work was coming back, the first thing that happened was they didn't want to replace us. They wanted us to stay. And I'll never forget when a very large corporate builder called and said, "How many communities do you need to just open a branch here?" We all kind of looked at each other saying, "Well, we never thought about doing that." And we had the blueprint, and we knew exactly how much the cost needed to be. And instead of, running out to the work, we decided to create new branches. So Orlando was our first branch. Then we opened a South Tampa branch. Now we are running Northport, Fort Myers, Lakeland, Jacksonville, Ocala, Gainesville. So we have covered most of the state of Florida, and there are additional plans as the company continues to expand. So we stumbled upon, thanks to not being afraid of the crash and knowing our costs and knowing our talent and knowing how to manage that. We were able to stumble upon a blueprint for growth when a lot of our competitors decided to close their doors on construction and walk away from it. And they downsized and still haven't returned to the size they were prior to the crash. So one of the things that happened in 2020 was that we sold 80% of our family business to a national firm that's publicly held. So our initial motivation in selling the company was a succession plan. 50% of the stock was held by my father-in-law, 51% and 49% by my husband. And the company had gotten so large by 2020 that there would be a huge tax burden should something happened to my father-in-law. So if you own your own company right now, think about your succession plan. Think about what happens should you pass. Who are your shares going to? Who inherits your company? Is it going to your kids? Is it going to your people? Do you have a plan for the valuation of the company and the tax burden that hits that company? It hits the people who are going to inherit that. So that's something to talk to your tax attorney about, something to talk to your legal team about, but it is real and it is crucial. And if you don't have it set up properly, it can cripple your business and your heirs, takes your life work and dilutes it into a burden that has to be sold off to be paid for. And no one wants that to happen as their legacy. So for us, what made the most sense was trying to find a company that was like-minded, that would allow our company to continue to grow that would allow the legacy to continue far beyond what we could contribute. So that's what we did. We found actually an electrical company that was a national company that wanted to get into the mechanical and plumbing side of construction. And we were able to align with them, and they acquired most of the company. We still to this currently retain 20% of the shares. And our desire was to build a legacy, preserve the roles of our people, preserve the company, and allow it to continue helping people. You know, for us, we were dedicated to making the lives we touch better. It started as our company mission, and it became our personal mission. Making the lives we touch better is huge for us, not just as people, but for our employees, for our vendors, for all the people that we serve as customers, whether that is a builder or a homeowner. Making the lives we touch better just really became part of who we are, as well as part of our business's mission. So it was a fantastic thing for us to find the fit that we found in the company that we sold our core company to. But I encourage you guys to think about succession planning, whether that is to your kids, to your heirs, to your employees, which is harder to do now. The ESOP laws have changed a little bit, but a lot of people have made that successful transition in the past. Or there's a lot of private equity firms going on, you know, and that brings with it its own differentials. We chose to go with a firm that was very similar to us with the same kinds of goals, so that the same tradition in business could continue. We see a lot of private equity acquisitions happen where the companies are leveraged, and it becomes a game of maximizing profits, as well as changing the focus of the business a little bit. So you have to find the fit that's right for you, and, you know, find the right fit as you move on. I understand that a lot of the people here at SMACNA are union based, and, you know, purchasing a unionized business isn't a decision to be taken lightly, but if it's handled properly, it can also lead to a super successful business operation. Unionized companies have some legal obligations as well. The decision to buy or sell and the actions taken during the sale can significantly impact the company's legal obligations in a unionized workforce. But it certainly has some opportunity both for the buyer and the seller. There are obviously legal obligations to the union, but it depends on what your CBA is, what your collective bargaining agreement is with your union, and whether it's a state mandated or just an independent action. But it's certainly something that can be looked at, and it can be advantageous to the buyer because it does open up a new negotiation with that union. Obviously, the union's going to bargain for things like healthcare and, you know, the ability to continue the bargaining relationship. And there, of course, the National Labor Relations Act has to be considered, and you have to make sure that's upheld. So it doesn't preclude negotiations. It just adds a little bit of spice and a little bit of twist that you have to work around, but it's certainly something that can still be advantageous to buyers, especially in specific areas of the country where that is the norm for labor. Wanted to move on and talk a little bit about departmentalization. As I mentioned, we had a consultant who came in and kind of introduced us back in the early 2000s to the concept of departmentalization. Every business probably has at least two business streams. Even if you're simply an HVAC business or simply a commercial business, you have installations, and after that installation, you have a warranty period, or you have some service, or you have some service agreements that you handle. So there's right there would be 3 different departments that you could break your business into. We broke everything in that department down: the field labor, the overhead labor, the office labor, which includes the overhead includes the office labor, but support staff, HR staff, everything was burdened out based on a percentage of sales by that department. So we could really, really dial down into how much each department was costing, how much each department was bringing in profitability wise. And it really allowed us to analyze how we were pricing things. It really allows you to make better strategic decisions. It allows you to see what you should invest in, what you can minimize, how much things are hurting, and it allows you to dive deeper into the whys and the wherefores. So if warranty goes up because of a certain project, what can we do about that project next time? What can we do during that stage, during the stages, the next stages of the project to minimize costs? It opens you up to a myriad of evaluations of your business that you never thought possible because you just weren't looking at the numbers from that perspective. It also gives you fantastic percentages to be able to get comfortable with. You'll know just by looking at your balance sheet if sales is off, if labor is off, if something is coded incorrectly. You'll get really, really comfortable with those financial statements and be able to manage your business off of a column of numbers that can really give you fantastic indications of what's working, what's not, where to focus your attention, and where things are going astray far more quickly. But the important thing to know about departmentalization is it takes a ton of discipline. It takes a ton of processes, and it takes software. If you don't have the right software that allows you to set up your general ledger in such a way that you can departmentalize by business units, then this would be an exercise in futility. You have to be able to have software that allows you to analyze things this way and enter things this way. So that is a critical piece of departmentalization that has to be part of the investment to that, as well as the discipline of all of the people. So one of the things about an integrated software, which we've been on since 2008, an integrated software forces every department to do 110% of their job 110% of the way, because the next piece of the workflow can't happen properly if the software is not, if the processes are not being followed. So the departmentalization, one of the great benefits of departmentalization is that it will allow you to price your jobs to get lean. So you'll be able to separate out some of that overhead and find ways to overcome overhead and cost in order to be able to get as lean as possible so that you can get the most work you can get at the profit margin you want to get. Sometimes we stack overhead in a way that isn't advantageous to our workflows and bottom line. And driving that departmentalization will help you analyze where things are too fat and where things are too thin, so that you can shift that around and realize greater profit. It'll also help you, it will also help you manage the workflows and the work streams that drive profit. So you'll be able to say, this department, I thought it was making money, but now that I've departmentalized things and I've broken down and analyzed that departmentalization, I realized that this is actually making me more money, even though I thought this was doing it. And then you can send your marketing team out and work on developing that so that you can increase your profit, and then send an analytics team out and say, how do we increase the profit over here? Because I thought this was making money, but truthfully, when we analyze it, it's not. So being able to carve your work out that way and and drive that departmentalization is a huge factor in being able to dissect, analyze, and grow your business in a strategic way. That brings me, as I said, to technology. So in 1998, when I came aboard with our company, there were 2 computers in the entire shop. Today, there's integrated software. There are 3 screens on almost every desk. We have the original 2 computers. We had file cabinet after file cabinet, and I wrote the first database in Access myself to try to begin to computerize our shop. We were able to key in pull sheets and be able to have records of what fixtures were installed in which homes, what equipment was installed in which homes without having to pull a file folder. Excel became a thing, and we were using 5 or 6 different softwares in order to produce our work on a daily basis. When we went to our first ERP, we were able to eliminate most of those softwares and go down to about 2 or 3. Today, we're still using 3 software. We use SAP as our ERP, which is our basic accounting package. We also use ServiceTitan, as I mentioned, as our service software, and then we use HVAC proprietary softwares like RightSoft for heat load calculations and things like that. So technology has been a huge investment, and one of the things that is really important when you're choosing your technology is to look at your processes, because the processes are important, but your processes can be defined by your software as well. And I find that when people are integrating new softwares into their business, they hold on to their old processes and try to fit their old processes into this newer space. And that causes a lot of friction when new change is implemented. When you're bringing in new software, it gives you the ability to take your processes and ask yourself, what's important? What's important to my business here? Why are we doing things this way? What's the important piece that we need to capture and move forward? And what is the best scope of work for that? What are the pieces we need to move forward, and how do we do it the best way with the least friction for my end user, with the most reward for my customer, and the least amount of cost and time for me? So it gives you a great opportunity to reevaluate things as you move into new software. Documentation of processes is key, and the processes have to be simple enough for your user to be able to follow the directions so that you don't have to overtrain or overinvest in people that have to be super high knowledge. So the simpler the processes are, especially if you're departmentalizing, because they have to understand that process, because there'll be some coding involved to make sure if it's a purchasing person that they're coding that material to the right department, because now there's a significant piece of sophistication to every interaction, and it has to be done in a way that it gets it to the right endpoint. So choosing your technology is incredibly important, and it's something that you have to manage and you have to stay on top of, because one of the things that's happening today is technology is growing at the speed of light. And from AI to web-based platforms, it's amazing with the advent of machine learning, all of the things that are changing. It's almost moving too fast to stay on top of. So I recommend investing in a technology partner that tries harder than you do to stay ahead of it. You have enough to keep you busy just managing your business. Finding a technology partner that can stay ahead of the curve for you is a vital piece of your success. When I speak about change management, I touched on it just a few moments ago. When we define our processes, are you defining those, or are the systems defining those? Because I think that when you're bringing in new technology, when you're ushering in change, you have to understand that your systems need to define your processes, and you need to find the ways to identify your key pieces of information, your key drivers, your key values, and be able to bring that through all of the processes that are important to your business and your customers, and allow your end users that use your software from a day-to-day basis to have a great experience that allows them to have a great contribution to your business. One of the things that I love about using ServiceTitan is that the job costing feature for your end user for your business is a gift. I say it that way because all you have to do is implement the workflow, follow the workflow, and job costing is live and automatic. So whether you're doing a service call or a new construction job project or a school that is billed out in multiple phases using AIA billing, whether you're doing union payroll, piece rate pay, or some sort of commission-based pay. Everything is wrapped into the workflow from purchasing through procurement, through distribution of materials, labor, and invoicing, and you'll immediately have a budget versus actual from your estimate all the way through to your invoice that is automatically available. And because ServiceTitan is web-based, it is available from your phone, from your office computer, from your laptop at home, and it's constantly available for you. So that is one of the hugest benefits that I found from our migration to ServiceTitan, because we're able to take that departmentalization and not just look at our business units, but take it all the way down to the job level and know which jobs are profitable, which jobs aren't. And we can look at those from a project management standpoint. Is it the project manager that's not working? Is it the process that's not working? Or are these things working for us? So it's been an amazing benefit that has allowed us to continue to grow, and not just grow, but grow in a profitable way. Sometimes we invest in growth because the growth in that sector is easy, but the profit doesn't necessarily follow the growth. And from a work harder, not smarter perspective, you want to do the work that's more profitable rather than the work that's just simply easy. One of the things that ServiceTitan has done for us, that it's elevated our employees' experience. It's an intuitive and actually really easy user experience. We've often said, if you can shop on Amazon, you can run ServiceTitan. So that's been a phenomenal thing as we've delved more and more into the usability of ServiceTitan. It allows you also to pay your employees any way you want and in multiple ways. We can give bonuses based on performance pay. We can handle piece rate pay. They have integrations that allow them to manage union pay. They can even tie things to bonuses and job profitability within their system. Another fantastic piece of ServiceTitan are the dashboards. Not only can you analyze your data, on this slide, you'll see that there are, but this is a preview of a budget versus actual table for a very large project. And they also have a personalized home base that allows you to look at your modular dashboard based on the sector of the company that you're responsible for. You can set up dashboards for monitoring parts. You can set up dashboards to monitor labor. You can set up dashboards for specific projects or specific business units. You can customize the dashboard to be able to see whatever it is that you'd like to see on that given day. Or if you have role-based employees, specifically, you can build a dashboard for exactly what they're responsible for monitoring. Just makes their life easy. Another thing that is automatic in ServiceTitan is tracking your marketing. Marketing is pretty near and dear to my heart. I've always chosen to market with a scalpel rather than a shotgun. A lot of people just throw marketing out there and just hope something sticks. I got introduced to tracking marketing by Ron Smith back in the day, in the early 2000s when we used to do it with hash marks on a notepad, and we used to ask everyone, how did you hear about us? And we would try to figure out which phone book they were calling from. And obviously none of that exists anymore. And now ServiceTitan has fantastically integrated marketing tracking right to phone numbers. So you can have tracking numbers that will automatically be tied to campaigns. And they even have marketing that works within the system to reach out to customers that have used us before and that meet certain criteria. So it has really phenomenal reach within your current customer base, as well as being able to reach out to new customers. A lot of ERP systems, as well as ServiceTitan, have web-based functionality. You'll find some ERPs that still have some hosted personalities where you can have them on site. There's some hybrid features as well, but many are going to the cloud because of accessibility, and ServiceTitan has certainly always been cloud-based. It allows you to work anywhere. It allows you to have customer portals. During this preview of this customer portal, you can see past invoices, you can see their maintenance plan, you can create an appointment, you can pay invoices, and this is all pretty much plug and play with very little setup from your end. Our customers love being able to work from their portals. They can view their invoice and pay their invoice right from their portal. And they can also take a look at all their history. And you on the back end have the ability to go in and select certain business units that they can see and certain business units that they can't see. So for instance, if you had a house that you did the new construction on and you didn't want them to see the builder invoices, you can hide those from the customer portal, and you can make visible all the ones that belong to the customer post-construction. Just a little price protection and some some things that you can build in to customize your customer portals to make the customer experience precisely what you'd like it to be. Embracing the future and the now. One of the nice things about ServiceTitan is that it can integrate with anything. It has an open API platform. We actually built an integration ourselves that allow it to integrate to SAP. They trade data back and forth on a push-pull integration using JSON script. And that has really made the integration incredibly seamless. So with an open API platform, it will literally integrate with anything, but there's also a lot of integrations already built from Zapier to many others that automatically work and can be plugged in instantly. AI is another thing. We call it Titan Intelligence, and that is coming in the future, and it is going to be amazing. From being able to translate technicians from one language to another, to being able to automatically arrive and complete jobs based on the technician's location, to being able to use optical character recognition to bring in data plates. All of those things are either in the works or on the horizon, and I'm so excited to see where the future takes the software. ServiceTitan Commercial allows us to take complete control of the entire business. From the beginning of a job at the estimating sector, we can bring in the estimates and start the job costing process from the beginning. If we don't estimate the job correctly, the budget is going to be blown from the beginning. And this allows us to see from the very beginning all the way through every step of the construction process or commercial process, exactly how we're managing those jobs. It allows us to manage our leads and pipelines. It allows us to build estimates and proposals and send those out and know when the customers are looking at those estimates and proposals. There are price book and supplier integrations happening every day that continue to broaden the amount of integrations that are available to end users. From preventative maintenance on the customer side to service agreements on the commercial side, there are uniquely customizable contracts that can be used within ServiceTitan, whether you have a commercial business or a residential service business or a commercial construction business. Property management work orders are available, AIA billing, the inventory tracking. We can set up individual trucks, and we've set up those so that we can monitor our inventory on our service trucks and out in the field and be able to replenish those materials instantly and immediately based on usage on the invoice. It also allows us to hold people accountable if they come in asking for additional parts that they should still have on their trucks that they haven't used. So that really helps keep your profits where they should be. The scheduling and dispatching pieces of ServiceTitan have been an incredible benefit. They're super user friendly. They also notify customers and keep them in the loop. It makes communication seamless, easy, and automatic, and that is an incredible benefit. Project tracking has come so far. If you haven't looked at that in ServiceTitan, the projects piece has been under development and improved so much in the past 12 months. It is absolutely suitable for construction and commercial use. And it instantly not only tracks your jobs, but also tracks your entire profitability, that you can see your profit by builder, you can see your profit by phase. You have reporting in every way you could want it at your fingertips, either on a dashboard, automatically, instantly emailed reports. It's been really phenomenal what they've been able to do with projects and the project piece of ServiceTitan in the last 12 months. No matter if you're billing by phase or billing with an AIA platform, that is absolutely doable. They have completely customizable templates within the billing system to set things up as you need to by the customer, by the job, or by the business unit. I could talk probably for the next hour about all of the different benefits that ServiceTitan has, but I think tracking your assets and equipment and the analytics and dashboards are among some of the very high points for me. You know, being able to search for a piece of equipment and find it, create a report of all of the equipment you've installed by manufacturer or by tonnage, or even at a serial number range if they have a recall or something like that. That is an incredible benefit that you can track. Another piece that's really amazing is the ability to market to your customers based on some of the equipment and assets that are tracked within ServiceTitan. And that again is a piece that comes within the ServiceTitan platform and within the within every interface. So it's not a, you know, an add-on to be able to have that equipment piece. That's part of the core software. So I think in summation, if I could say anything about growing a business, it is to gather the brilliant, the most bright minds that you can, empower them within your culture, within your goals, to be on the same, everyone has to be marching to the same direction. Have a mission, have your goals, build your culture around that, and empower your people, and then give them the tools. The tools isn't just the tools in the field, but if the office tools aren't there from the software side so that you can streamline your processes and enable your general ledger and your goals to align, then you're going to constantly be fighting yourself to be able to get your business to get the rubber to the road. I kind of think of the software as the transmission of the business. If everything is moving in the same direction from, you know, from the engine, the employees creating the power, if you don't have the transmission in place, then you're not going to get that power to the road in order to be able to monitor that, in order to be able to grow that. I think at this point, I'll be able to open up. I have like 15 minutes left for questions. If anybody has
Thanks, Chris. Just again, if you want to ask any questions, just use the Q&A button that is down there at the bottom of the screen. Don't have to worry about raising hand or anything like that. You can just ask the question directly to the Q&A chat. One of the questions, as I was listening to this, Chris, that I had is, when you were, I guess, choosing to make the software decisions that you all did at your business, what kind of drove you? What kind of drove that process for you, and why did you ultimately choose the ones that you went with when you were thinking about kind of everything that you covered today as far as employees are concerned?
Gotcha. So we started with we started with back in the day, we started with Maxwell. That was our first integrated software solution. And then we moved from Maxwell to SAP. And when we were choosing a software, we needed it to be able to handle all of the components. So SAP is our core software because it handles our HR, it handles purchasing, it handles it handles inventory, it handles AR. So it creates our invoices, creates our purchasing, but it's also fully customizable. And that's really important for us because we couldn't find a software that was kind of construction built that handled all the things we wanted to. I know a lot of people use things like QuickBooks, and we tried, and we were so large at that point that we kind of blew QuickBooks up in one morning. So, um, so so looking at that, it was that was really important. And a feature for ServiceTitan that was really important when we were deciding to go with the service software, we used another software called Field Locate, actually. Prior to ServiceTitan, we used that for about 10 years. And we had specific features that were do or die, right? They were our deal breaker features. We had to have equipment tracking. We had to have the ability to communicate with our customers. We had to have the ability um, to let our technicians see the history, right? We didn't want to have to call them and tell them everything that had happened prior to us getting there. So we had a feature set that was important to us, and that was really important. That was part of the decision-making process, I guess.
One question that's come in is, how long did it take for you all to implement ServiceTitan into your program?
So we made the decision to go forward with ServiceTitan in June, and we went live in January. Um, so I guess that's marked live. Yeah. Do you want me to type that? Okay. So we started it in June. We went live at the end of January. And fortunately for us, we implemented in 2019. And let me just tell you the benefits for ServiceTitan during COVID. It saved our bacon because people didn't want us in their houses, and people didn't want to touch the iPad. And ServiceTitan, one of the things that has been integral and part of the thing that makes ServiceTitan so successful, I think, is that they are so far ahead of the curve. They like see around the corners. So as soon as COVID came out, they implemented an ability to send the invoice from our handheld to the customer's handheld, so they never had to touch our iPad. So they could authorize their invoice and pay their invoice without ever touching our iPad, which was so vital, and it made customers feel so friendly. And we could send out a text message ahead of time saying, hey, we can send this all to your phone. Don't worry, don't cancel your service call. So it allowed us to keep working when a lot of people were dead in the water. But as far as implementation process, I will tell you that you're going to need someone dedicated to creating all of the things that you need in ServiceTitan for it to work. You will need to handle some change management. You'll need to create some manuals so that you have processes that can be repeated and followed. Um, if you like, it's one of the most critical things is setting up a price book. The better your price book, the better the system will operate, because you can customize that price book to already include materials for your technician. You can customize that price book to be very user friendly from the customer's perspective. So if you set up the price book properly, you will see your sales increase because your technicians can do a fantastic presentation on site to your customers and really help your customers understand. I would say, depending on the size of your business, 6 months to 8 months is definitely a good timeline to consider, and definitely have someone who is going to be your ServiceTitan expert to manage that. Let that be their whole job through the implementation process.